D.2 CSS Layout Control Part 1. From this video, I want to start a new topic, CSS Layout Control. Layout. This is a big, important topic. We know one important way to use CSS is doing the layout. Arrange the components in a nice way. So that is a big, important reason people use CSS. It is a relatively big topic, so I plan to use 3 videos. D.2, 3, and 4. For the remaining of this class, we covered this important topic. So we start with the first one, part 1. In part 1, we study one special property that people use for the layout. It's called a display property. Display property. It is a very simple property, but quite useful for the layout. So let me explain how to use this property. Most important, controlling layout. Most are not, but very important. We will see the usage. Here, the main usage. I want to connect to the table way for layout. Before the CSS technology was created, how did people do the layout design, right? People mainly use table way. In HTML, we create tables, we arrange components, we using tables to do the arrangements. But there is some big problem using tables to do the layouts. Think about when your layout becomes very complicated, that it is very hard to use table to make good layout design. Very hard. So later, then after CSS was created, then it is much more powerful. The powerful here, it means you can put much more control on your layout. Much more control on your layout. So that's a big improvement. But now there is an important issue the designer, the web designers, they need to consider. In what situation you should use table? In what situation you should use CSS? Okay? 2 different ways. Or is it the case that we should always use CSS? We should never use table? Well, that's another approach, right? You just forget about table way. Never use table way to do the components arrangement. So that's another approach. Yes, many people doing that way. After we learn the layout, I may like to give some comments related to these 2 different ways to do the component arrangements. All right. The display property, so what does it do? Specifies how an element is displayed. So there are different ways you can tell the web browser how to display a specific element. To understand that part well, we need to review the block and inline elements concept. So we learned this in our HTML part. Some elements are block elements. Some elements are inline elements, right? So we learned that before. In my next slide, I will review a little bit. But here, I will show you the difference because for different types of elements, block or inline, that could impact the display behavior of your current element. Yeah. So we will see that quickly. Yeah. All right. So every HTML element has a default display value. Even you do not use it. Okay? Yeah. You do not use the default property. It has a default value. But what is its default value? Right? Yeah. Depending on what type of element it is. Two types, block, inline. It depends on the type of the current element. Yeah. The default display value for most elements is block or inline. Two possibilities. Yeah. Here, so we can connect these two things easily like this. Yeah. When an element is a block element, what is the default value for it? Block. When an element is an inline element, what is the default value for that inline element? Inline. That's simple. Okay, very natural. Yeah. All right, so next, let's look at a simple example. In this example, we use Li element. Li, so remember, in ordered list, unordered list, each item, we use this Li tag. So when we use this tag, first, we know it is a block element. Yeah. What is the block element? Yeah. So let me just review a little bit. Block element, it takes the whole block, right? Yeah. So consider your page. Consider your page. A block element, you should start from a new line. Start with a new line. No matter where you are, the pointer, the current cursor location, where you are, you need to start a new element, new line first. Okay, so that's the starting point of the block. Then you take all the space of that row, stretch out, leftmost, rightmost, that part you use to display your block element. That's block. Okay, so then inline, you do not do that. You just still your current location, so you display your element right there at the current location. Takes the space it needs and no more than that. Yeah. So that's the difference. Yeah. Although in my next slide I will talk about a little more, but that's the basic idea. Yeah. Now this Li element, originally by default it is a block element. So you know that item, each item takes one line, one whole line, okay, horizontal. Yeah. But we can change it. We can change its behavior by setting the display value to inline. Yeah. Default is block because it's a block element. So the default is block, but when we do this modification, we change display value from default block to inline current value. After you make the change, its behavior becomes inline item. You display the items inline way, not block way. Yeah. Block way, every time you start a new line. That's the block way, right? Inline way, you do not start a new line. You keep going. Yeah. So look at this. Yeah. This is unordered list. Okay. In this list, we use 3 items. Okay. So if we do not change the display value, then we display like this, 3 lines vertically, 3 lines. Okay. But after we change to inline, then it won't be 3 different lines, they will be in one line. Okay, so one line, you do not change. New line, yeah. The first item, second item, third item, yeah, like that. Yeah. So this feature is quite useful because in our web page design, many times we need to use horizontal menus. When you use horizontal menus, look, this is a nice way to use horizontal menus, right? Nice way, horizontal menus. Okay, yeah. Although you can use vertical menus, yeah. Okay, yeah. But horizontal menus very common. Yeah. Okay. So that's the way you can control how to display horizontal menus. Yeah. All right. The rule. Yeah. Yeah. When you do in this way, yeah, you need to consider, yeah, the restriction in this rule. An inline element with display block. Yeah, you change first originally inline element. Yeah. Okay, that's the rule. Not this li. Li originates a block element, so not directly connect to this li element. Yeah. So originally you have an inline element. You can change it to block. Okay. Yeah. When you have this situation, the rule says you cannot put another block element inline this changed inline element. That's the rule. Okay, so that's the rule. Yeah. All right. Next, let me review block. Yeah, because we have seen it. Yeah. So we just quickly go through block level elements. Yeah. So sometimes we just call block elements. Yeah. But sometimes people call block level elements. Yeah. All right. So start up new line. So that's one property. Takes up full width available. Yeah. So second property. So two properties. Yeah. For a block element. Yeah. Example. Yeah. So we cannot list all of them. Yeah. But we can list several commonly used block elements. Yeah. These commonly used, okay, yeah, yeah. Commonly used. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Next, inline elements. So inline, yeah, does not start on a new line. Keep going at the current location, inline location. Yeah, only takes up as much as necessary. Yeah. So examples here, span, this one, span, div. We know usually people put text in a div element or span element. Okay, so many times people do not know what's the difference. Here, this is the main difference. Div, block element, span, inline element. So when you know this important difference, then you will not get confused which one you should use. Yeah, when you try to display one specific element. Yeah. All right, so then other two elements also inline. Yeah. All right. Then there is another interesting concept, hide an element. Hide an element. So this concept also very interesting. Because first let me give you the situation we need to use this feature. In our web page design, we arrange many components. Remember, we want to make our web pages dynamic. So what's the meaning of that dynamic pages? When your users doing some interactions with your web pages, then your components can change, can, do Sometimes based on the actions, your components may need to change. In that situation, this hide element is useful. Sometimes you need to hide an element. Sometimes you need to display that element. So you can change it back and forth. Okay? When one action occurs, you hide that element. When another action occurs, you show that element. That kind of feature, very useful. Later we will see. Later, when we learn a JavaScript, we will do this feature. Because this feature relies on the JavaScript function to do it. All right. Okay. Yeah. So to hide it, you just set display property to none. Then that element will not be displayed. Okay. Element will be hidden. So you cannot see it. But it stays there. Okay. Later, when some special action occurs, JavaScript function will show that element. Okay. All right. Page will display as if the element is not there. Okay. When it is hidden, that element does not take any space because the element is not there. So the browser will ignore that part. Okay. Put it aside somewhere. Later, when you need it, then insert it back to that location. That's the behavior. But there is another similar way to do the hidden thing. It's set visibility property to hidden. That's another way to do similar thing, but slightly different. In this way, we can also hide an element, but the hidden element still takes the space, still occupies the space. Okay, so you show, you hide, but the space always there. Okay, sometimes you may need this feature, so you can choose this visibility : hidden way, not the display : none way. Two different ways you can choose from. The element will take up the same space as before. When even you hide it, the same space. Will be hidden, but still affect the layout. So based on your situation, so in your application, you can tell which way you need to use. So at this point, I want to show you a simple demo. Because when you see this demo, you can understand the difference of these two features easily. So let me just here. Okay. All right. The first one, the first element, this picture, we use the property display : none. When we hit this move button, a JavaScript function will call to change display value from block, original value block, to none. Okay, move. So it's gone, but the space also gone. The space it occupies also gone. Okay, so the second one, this one, visibility : hidden, is still, when you hide it, it still takes this same space. Hide. We hide it. Hit it. It's gone, but space still there, right? Reset all. Let's hide this first. Right? The reaction is slow. Hide. It's gone, but space still there. Remove, space gone. Right? So you can see in this simple demo, you can see the difference. You can choose which version you want to use in your design. Okay. All right. So let's stop this video here.